Ahoy, mateys! You're probably wondering why I'm wearing my full sailing costume right now. Well, I thought that since you were willing to sail on to Extra Adventure and sign aboard for my advanced problems, that it would be a good idea to do that. And I also thought that in keeping with this kind of sailing theme that I've got going, that I would do a problem for you that shows you how far you can see on the horizon from the deck of a ship. So I hope you enjoy this problem, and hopefully you can get a hat like mine someday because they're pretty cool. Well, let's look at this problem that we have here. We want to use the fact that the radius of the Earth is 3,960 miles, and 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And we want to know how far we can see if we're standing on the deck of a ship, which we're calling the USS Mathematica. And the deck of the Mathematica is 20 feet above sea level. So how are we going to be able to figure that out? Well, first thing I'm going to do is draw a picture. And any time that I want to solve problems, drawing a picture is never a really bad place to start. So there's my picture of the Earth. Let's make it blue because the Earth is kind of blue most of the time. Well, in some places it is. And then let's draw a diagram here. So here's the center of the Earth. And here is the radius of the Earth, which is 3,960 miles. Okay, I think I need to make my pen a little bit smaller. And then let's draw a second. Well, before we draw a second line, let's draw our boat. So here's the top of my boat. I have a big boat here. So there's the whole boat. I'll draw that in a light color because I don't want the boat to distract you. But here's my boat. Okay, and here's my little person. Okay, I'll make them blue. There's my person. That's me, kind of round. That's okay. So there's my person. I realize this boat is not to scale because obviously it looks like it's about to fall off the Earth, but that's okay. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to draw this little guy's line of sight. Okay, so I'm drawing his line of sight. And how far can he see? Well, he can see to there. Ooh, that's an ugly one. Let me redo that. So I'm going to start here. And I'll make a nice line right there. And this line here represents my little captain's line of sight. Okay? And then if I draw another line from the center of the Earth that ends at this little guy's line of sight here, if you look at this, these two lines, well, they don't look at the way I've drawn them, but they should be perpendicular to each other. So we have a right triangle. And this distance, if I square that and square this, I should get this total distance here. That relationship should be true. So let's fill in some more information here. First of all, I know this length is also going to be the radius of the Earth, so it's 3,960. Now this I don't know, and that's what I want to know. It's the distance I'm looking for, so I'll just call it D, and I don't know that. And I also don't know this one, or maybe I do. This one is actually 20 feet. Now there is a problem though. I don't want to put this in feet and have this in terms of miles, so I'm going to put everything in terms of miles. So if I have 20 feet and I want to convert it to miles, I can multiply by a fraction. And the fraction I'm going to multiply, I'm going to use the fact that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And this fraction that I created is actually equal to 1, because when the top and bottom of a fraction are the same, it equals 1. So I'm going to multiply 20 feet by this fraction, which is really just the number 1, so I haven't changed anything. So I can multiply 20 feet by this fraction. And another thing I do is I cancel units. One thing you'll learn in pre-calculus and physics, units can be canceled just like variables. So the feet cancel, and I have 20 times 1, which is 20, over 5,280 miles. And then I just have to figure out what this is. So let's do that. We'll pull up the calculator here. And hopefully this will work right. Once I get this going, let me pause for a second while we're waiting. I actually started to pull up the wrong calculator. There's one other thing we need to do with this calculator, and we need to change the color and make it line, because I like line, and you can't really do the problem if you don't have a pretty calculator. Okay, so anyhow, let's figure this out. So I have, and you can watch it on the large screen here. I'm going to hit my fraction button, and then 20, and then over 5,280, and I get 1 over 264, and if I hit this button once, I get a decimal, and I'm going to show my key press history so you can see in case you have the same calculator. So I get a decimal, okay? So we'll shrink this down, but we're going to keep using that. We're going to keep that number in our calculator. So let me see what that number was again. It was 0.0037. So this little section here is 0.0037. Now I'm not going to write out all the digits, but I'll keep them in my calculator. And now we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So this squared, d squared, plus this squared, 3,960, quantity squared, equals, and then I take 3,960, and to that I have to add this little tiny amount, and then I square the whole thing after I add these two tiny lengths. And then I can just solve this. So let's go ahead and use our calculator and solve this. So I have 3,000, well, let me put my parentheses here. So parentheses, and then 3,960 plus 0.00. Oops, no, I don't want to do it that way. I can actually, let me hit delete, because I can actually enter this just by scrolling up and highlighting it and hitting enter. I can paste in the exact value, and that's a better thing to do when you can do that. Gives you a little more accuracy. Okay, I usually wait till the end to start rounding. So I square that, and then I'm going to be subtracting this from both sides, 3,960 quantity squared, or yeah, okay, so we got that. So then I subtract 3,960 squared, enter, and I get 30.00000. So d squared equals 30.000, I think there's another 0 in there, 1, and then I will square root both sides. So I square root both sides, so second function, and then square root, and I just scroll up and highlight the 30.00001 and hit enter, and I get 5.477, and I will round that to 5.48. And since we had everything converted to miles, that will be miles, and it's smooth sailing ahead. You can see 5.48 miles.